Hello, we'll get this started here in a minute. I'll let everybody get in here real quick before we start. Alright, hello everyone. Gonna be doing a combat workshop today. I'll get this started here. So, who am I? Oh, there we go. So, I'm SquidyCakez. I've been on Roblox since 2013. I've been programming for over 3 years now. Haven't really been keeping track, but around there. I've contributed to a lot of games, a ton of them. I'm the lead programmer for Project Baki 2. It's about 11 million visits right now, a bunch of players. Outside of Roblox, I'm an alto and tenor saxophone player, and I'll be going to school for computer science later this year. So, some disclaimers. I'm not the best scripter of all time. Feel free to correct me and give me some feedback. I do things differently than some other people. Everybody I've talked to pretty much uses different coding practices and techniques. Without background knowledge, this might be a little bit hard to understand. I'm going to try to explain very thoroughly over everything we do today, but you might just not be able to catch on some concepts. And for the sake of time, I'm going to be doing things not the best way. So yeah, I'll explain that when we get there. So popular types of hit detection. So the first one is magnitude and dot product. A lot of games use this one. A lot of front page anime fighting games use this. Basically what it does is you give it an amount of studs and something called dot product, which is basically the radius. And anything in that range, in that radius, will be hit. Region 3 is basically just a box, and anything in that box or shape, whatever you use, will be detected. Ray casting, it detects anything that hits by the ray. And basically the ray, you can imagine like a straight line that goes from one point to another, and usually has a certain distance it goes. Touch is very similar to Region 3. It just basically touches anything to a physical part. Anything that touches that physical part will be detected. So, getting started. So, today we're going to be using animations for M1, M2, block, and a few other things. We're going to be using particles for our visual effects, and we're going to be using some sound effects. You're going to need to know what variables are, what a function is, remote functions and events. I think we'll be doing events today though. And the 3 different types of scripts. I'll be going over all of this, but it just helps if you have all that knowledge prior. So today's goals. We're going to complete a fully functional combat system. This is going to have multiple things in it. I'll go over that in a second. You're going to learn client to server communication and the opposite, server to client. I'll go more in depth of what all 3 types of scripts do. We're going to be using Region 3, kind of mixed between Region 3 and Touch today for our hit detection. And it's overall the basics of how to make a good functioning combat system. So we're going to go to the studio now. Let me switch my tabs. So this is what we're gonna be. This is gonna be the finished product for today. I'll go over all of its features real quick. It's gonna be a third-person combat system. Let me turn the sound up real quick so everybody can hear it. It's probably about good. So first off, there's gonna be guard break obviously. There'll be M1 combos along with the M2 that I just showed. There's going to be clashing, which is pretty much just when you hit an M1 and they hit an M1 too. So it plays that little sound. You can't clash M1s right now. And parry is kind of like a perfect block. You see there, I got punished for hitting him because he perfect blocked me. It works for heavy hits too. So yeah, that's going to be the end goal. A few other things is you can see the character tilt slightly. If we have time, I'll put that in, but that's not one of the main goals here. Running and rolling. I'm going to try to put this particle effect on the dashing if you have time. And overall, it's just a pretty smooth combat system. Yes. So this entire event will be recorded. It'll be up on YouTube, and along with a download for this, or this is an uncopylocked place. So if you get lost behind or you don't know what's going on, you can always come back, watch the recording, download the place, or you can. My DMs are always open. If you would like just to get some help from me personally, I'm always open to help. So let's get on to the main thing now. Let me switch tabs again. Yeah, I'll put my YouTube channel link everywhere when this event's over. Put the music back on now since I might not be talking the entire time. Let me fix this thing right here. Alright. So we already have the assets in here that we're using today. You see over here, this will be, like I said, it'll be downloadable after this event, so you can get these assets. I have all the animations here, the stuns, heavy, the light. We have the effects. We just have some basic particles that we're going to be using today. So yeah, we're going to get into it now. Let me just... There we go. I'll show once again on the screen. I didn't show that time, my bad. But animations, effects, all that good stuff. So what we're gonna start out coding first is the client part of all of this. So we'll get into that now. What we're gonna start with is just a basic script. It's a local script. Basically what a local script is, if you don't know what it is, it's basically just a script that only affects the client, which is the person playing the game. So we're going to go ahead, I'll call this core. We're calling this core just because this is what's going to activate all of our systems. So we're going to start up here. What we're going to do is get all of the scripts that are in play under this, which is just me one for today. It's going to activate all of them. All of the modules, because we're using modules today. So basically for now, this is all it's going to be on our core script. What it's doing is it's going to activate all the modules under this script, and it's going to say started, whatever. So now we're going to put a module script in here, which is going to be the main controller for our client. And we have this module script. And we're going to call this player controller. Just because it's going to control all the actions of our character here. So now, just for the sake of time, I want to copy and paste in some services so I don't have to type it all out. If you don't know what all these are, basically run services, it really helps with like weights and all that. Tween services for effects, and these which just pass so we can access remotes and other modules we're going to need today. Oh, zoom? I'll zoom in a bit. We'll call this controller. So now we're going to put in all of our variables for today, and I'll type those out real quick. So this is going to be if we're swinging, our swing cooldown, so you can't immediately swing again after you hit somebody, and our swing tick, which just makes it so that your combo will reset if you don't finish it over a certain amount of time. So here's just some more of it. Basic variables, just rolling, roll, cooldown, swing iterations. Iteration basically just means which one we're on. So you're going to be starting on your first hit or your first heavy hit. That's just going to go up. Then heavy hit, if it's a heavy hit, they can guard break and knock back, and if you can sprint. So once again, some more basic variables. Jump bounce we're using later, so you can't just spam the space bar and get over combos and all that. Shift lock, we're going to have a slight custom shift lock system. Your default walk speed, your default jump power, and your default sprint speed. These are all just pretty simple things. These are all just the defaults for Roblox, and the sprint speed, that's how much your sprint's going to make you faster whenever we get there. They're in caps because it's just, there's different coding styles, I guess you could call it. Constants for me, I always put them capital. There's regular variables, they're in this snake case thing. And then just like services and functions will always have capitals and look like this. It doesn't really matter, this is just how I code. Everybody has different preferences, but yeah. Now we're going to start on our controls. We're going to put the keybinds and all that real quick. So this is just our input for light. We're gonna put this all for our other controls. Why you would want to have a table like this for your controls is because if you want to put an Xbox in, or if you want to have custom controls, super easy. All you have to do is just change what that equals in this table. So it's really just good for having a control table like this, just for really expanding your game on the multiple platforms. This is all I'm going to put for now. We'll come back later and add more if we have time to do the rest of the system. We might not be able to get the dashes, but hopefully we will be able to. So this is our init function from this core right here. So what we're going to put in here is everything that should happen on startup, which will be our inputs, any values that we're going to put in later that help with our combat. So what this is just going to detect our inputs, and is typing. It's not only what that is, it's really called process, game processed, which we put that there is because if they're typing, we don't want the combat to happen. It's just kind of weird. And we also don't want them to do anything if they're stunned, right? So both of those will cause the input to completely return and nothing to happen. So what this is going to allow us just to simply access our table. So we send this function a string, and it's going to return us the control, which allows us to confirm this is what they're pressing, this is what they want to do. And no, Lance, I am not using any plugins for this. I don't really use any plugins for programming in general. Now we're going to test this real quick, make sure it works. Oh, I did something wrong. Let's see what I did wrong. Put our rest of our controls in here real quick. So if you're wondering why, in a second you're going to see this is going to be input type, and then, well, you can see it up here actually. So mouse buttons are not the same as key codes. Mouse buttons are in user input type enum, while everything else pretty much is in key codes. It's just how it is. So we'll change this to key code, and let's copy and paste run. So this is text some of our basic stuff. So the reason why that wasn't working earlier is because, as you saw, it never said this was started. So, Lance, if you want to see if you ever had errors, not all the time you're going to have errors whenever there's a bug in your game, but if there is, there's going to be red text down here saying whatever's wrong. Down this little gray box where my mouse is. This text is highlighted at. It's disconnect. It'll be down in there. So these are our basic functions. We're just going to copy and paste these real quick into here, because that's our light function, or our light swing. This is our heavy swing. This is our run start. And real quick, we're going to put our input ended function, which is the same thing as began, but it just happens when you release the key. We're gonna do this for our run. So now we have both our input functions right here. You don't need the end light and heavy just because it's a single thing. It's not like a toggle. Real quick, we're going to go back in here and this for later. I'm going to paste in these variables. I need this for later. Oh, forgot the services. I'm going to put these in our other script as well. If you're wondering what this is how you get the player. This is how you get the character. And then this is how you get the humanoid, also the root part. The root part is basically an invisible part inside of the character they use for a lot of stuff in coding here. And humanoid is what kind of like makes the character a character, gives them their health, makes them move, all that. So now we have all of our inputs set up. So it's going to detect everything. It'll be all good. So now what we gotta do is we have to set up another module that's gonna tell us what our weapon does, which is right now. Let me see that. Put it up here. I didn't. Let me do that real quick. So we're gonna make a module real quick that's gonna tell us what fist is. So like, how many swings does it have? How many heavy swings does it have? How big is the hitbox? So we're gonna do that all real quick. So for that, we're gonna go up here to our replicated storage and in modules. We'll simply just create a new module script. Oh, clicking the wrong thing, my bad. Module script. So if you haven't noticed already, basically a module script is a script that can be accessed by other scripts. Usually you want to program modules just because if you want to grab a function from another script, just so it's more cleaner and all that, and it's all shared, then there you go. I'm going to call this the weapon script, and I'm just going to name everything as info because this is going to give us all the information. Real quick, copy and paste in our path. This is where I access all the sounds and all the animations, all that. And once again, this is going to all be on YouTube, so if I'm going too fast for you, just come back and watch it later. So now what we've done is we have a table for our information, and we put fists in there. So in our other script, we're going to come back and be able to access this and put the script.info, the fist, and it's going to return us all the information that we want. And this for time's sake, once again, so I don't have to manually type everything in. I'm just going to copy and paste in what should be in here. These are some of our paths. This is where our sounds are, and this is where our particles are. Let me get all the information. I'll go through it real quick too. So this is all information, but right here you can see the comments on what it is. So we're gonna have, I think it's 4 light swings. Then we're gonna have 1 heavy swing. We don't need this hit range for, oh no, we do. So this is how far it's gonna hit. So for later on, I'll get in this more deeply, but this is gonna be our maximum hit range. The end lag, so this is just so you can't infinite combo walk off immediately after you finish the combo. This is for how many seconds that it's gonna have a little bit of lag afterwards. And no, I won't be animating today. I can't animate very well personally. It's all done already for me, so that's good. Combo reset, this is how many seconds after you swing it's gonna reset. So if you swing 3 times and wait 1.5 seconds, it'll be back down to the first swing. The M1 cooldown, this is just how fast you can restart your M1s. This is how much your M1's knock back, how much your M2's knocking back. Hit type, you always want to specify hit type in a PvP game. For example, later on, if you want to have swords do more damage, you'd all have to do is just use this module. Like, oh, it's a sword hit type, you know? Swing active times. Basically, what this is it'll wait 0.2 seconds, then it'll start swinging. Then 0.2 seconds before the animation ends, it'll stop. So this is the window of when when you can hit something, basically. The punch swing times. This is how long they're active for. The M1 hitbox, like I said earlier, we're gonna use like a physical part for our hit detection. It's because that's way simpler and easier to explain. This is how big it is. The X, Y, and Z. The M2 X, Y, Z. How big it is. Same thing as earlier. Just the window for when you can hit. In the heavy, there's going to be a slight pause, just as like kind of a warning or a wind up. And here it's going to last 0.2 seconds for our fist. The light stuns, this is how much it's going to stun, for how long. Our animations, this is going to be what stun animation happens for what swing. Our heavy stun's heavy's going to stun for a full second. And same thing, animations, when you hit somebody, it's going to play the stun left animations. And it's just our sounds and our hit particles. It's going to play a random either one of these sounds, or it needs to be ordered in this order. It's going to play these sounds. And same with heavy. It's going to be in this order. And hit particle, this is what particle it's going to play when you hit somebody. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get all this information here now. So once again, time's sake, you got to copy paste it in. So we'll put it right here. Actually, we'll put it above that. This is our weapon information. This is what we just put. So what it's doing is requiring the script so it can open the script basically and get the information out of it. So now we have our weapon. So now we're going to get all the information out of our weapon, which is simply just this. So we have our weapon here. We have the module. So what it's going to do is it's going in the module and it's looking for this weapon. It's looking for fists, which we have here. So now we have all these variables. It's looking for the swings. It's looking for the heavy swings. Looking for the hitboxes. It's looking for everything. Local means basically you put that in front of every variable. That's just how it works in Lua. You don't have to put it there technically, but you always should. It's just how it is, I guess. You guys put local function, which in general local means it's kind of like only in that place. So since local is up here, it's for this entire script. But if I put, let's say local whatever equals true, this whatever only exists in this function. That's the best way to describe it. I can't go into in-depths because of time. So now we're going to start. Oh, one more thing. I forgot to paste this in. Now we're going to put our hit detect part in, which, oh, gotta move this up. So what this is doing, there's a part in our effects, which I just put it there just because it's simple. You can put it anywhere. You can change its path if you want to be cleaner. And we're going to parent it to the character, which is our physical model. And in the weld, it's going to make sure the owner of the weld is the hit detect part. And it's going to put it on our root part, which, like I said earlier, the root part is an invisible part that's always on your character. So now we're pretty much almost done with all the basic stuff, and now we can really get into it. Let me make sure this starts real quick. Start a player controller. That's good. That means it's all initialized. So now we'll get into it. First off, we're just gonna load our animations, which is it's a pretty simple thing to do. So what this is, we're going to have a table for all of our swing animations, all our heavy swing animations, the total amounts, and block, roll, and run. Now I'll copy and paste in our load animation function, which is simply going to, oops, I think I forgot to include this, if I did. So what this is doing is it's looking for the folder. If there's no folder, you can give it a folder here. And it's gonna load our roll animation. It's gonna load our run animation. It's gonna go through all of our swing animations and put them in the table. Put them in the table. It's gonna load our block, and it's gonna tell us the total amount of swings for both. And this is our, well, actually loads the animation to the character right here. So basically what this does, you get an animation and it loads it and it returns the deal. That's what it's doing here. It's loading the roll, loading the run, loading everything pretty much. And then we're going to put this function here. What this does, oh, I never put this up there. Weird. So combat disable. We're not going to use this today at all. But if you ever, for your game, if you want, like, you get hit by a move, then you can't use your combat, but you don't want them to stun. You just use this function to disable combat. Or if you have, like, I don't know, like a gym system, and you're working out, you don't want them to be able to swing while they're working out, you just use this function and disable their combat. Now we're going to go into our light swing. Also going to, oh, forgot to load the animations. There we go. Now that'll load all our animations. Now for our swing. Now for the swing, I'm just going to type it out manually and explain as I go. Alright, so what we just put here basically is we don't want you to be able to swing when any of this happens. If your swing's on cooldown, if you're rolling, if you're already swinging, if you're blocking, or if your combat's disabled, you should be able to swing, right? This next part here is basically just saying if you're not on your first M1 of the combo and you haven't M1'd since the reset, then it's going to put you back your first combo. Like I said earlier, this is because if you do like 4 swings but then you stop at the last one, you should reset back to 1 if you don't swing for like a minute, you know. This makes more sense. And for function, not really, as long as the function is above everything. Well, not technically. If there's a function like here, you can use this anywhere. It is a regular function. A local function has to be below it. See, let me put this here. See, it doesn't like that because it's above the actual function. But here, I could do it because it's not a local function. Let's keep going now. Just for sake of time, I'm going to copy paste it and just kind of explain more. So this is getting our hitbox size. So what it's doing is it's looking at the hitbox size from this. So right here, it's going to find this. It's going to take it, and it's going to make the size of that, and then it's going to make sure it's in front of our character. So this is how you make sure it's in front of you. You would divide the length by half, and then just offset it by that. And here we're making sure we're not running while we're swinging, and we're going to start putting our variables to true because we're about to start swinging. Take your time once again. I'm just going to copy paste in. Only got about 20 minutes left. Let me change these real quick. So what's going on now? This function right here, basically what it's doing is it's waiting, and if nothing happens, then it's just gonna be like a little wait, just a little more advanced. But if you get stunned here, then it's gonna return immediately. So if you get hit, it's gonna stop your swing immediately. So now it's asking if our swing iteration is less than or equal to our total swings, which is pretty much just saying just making sure you're not going over the total amount of swings because there's nothing there, right? Then our hit start and hit end, once again, it's up here. It's these. So how long in when we start hitting and how long before we stop. Then length is just seeing the length of the entire swing, and the difference is just adding that all up, subtracting it, making sure what it needs to make up right here. So it's going to make up the end. In the animation, it's going to grab the animation, it's going to play it. And if it's the last swing, it's going to make you stop running. It'll completely make you stop running. And then at the end here, it's going to make your iteration go up. It's going to say you're not hitting anymore, you're not swinging anymore, and you're not heavy hitting anymore. And if you're above the total swings, you're going to do the end lab because you just finished the combo. They'll put you back to walking speed, regular jumping power, and put you back to the first M1 in the combo. And then the cooldown's over. So we'll try that now, make sure it works. It does work. Oh, it's only the first one. Oops. I forgot to do something here. I see what I did wrong. I forgot this part right here, which pretty much is saying it can't reset if you're on the ground. Should work now. Let's double check. Oh, nope. I figured out what I did wrong. Oh, I didn't put negative. It's negative because this is always going to return a negative value. Now, if you want, you could do absolute value on this and make it positive, but just for time's sake, I'm not going to do that. So now we actually have it here. Your basic M1 combo. That's just all client, all the visuals. For time's sake, once again, I'm going to just copy paste the heavy one. The heavy one is pretty much the same as this, but slightly modified, which I'll go over here. You replace everything. So here, pretty much the same thing, just checking if you need to reset the combo, the size, setting everything, you're about to start the swing. The only thing that's really different here is it's going to wait till you start hitting. It's going to make your animation stop, which is that pause here. This 0.2 second pause. It's going to do that 0.2 second pause. It's going to resume the animation. And if you got hit during that pause, it's going to stop it. But if you didn't get hit, it's going to continue like a normal heavy swing. And if you're not stunned, it's going to reset you back to normal. If you are stunned, it's not. Then it'll give you that end lag if you need it, and the swing's over. So now real quick, we'll just add in our run functions. Before that, we're gonna do the little camera zoom effect. So we'll do that real quick. So simply just put this here. What this is doing is it's cam twin. It's going to tween it. So we get the camera. Then the properties we're going to tween today is just the amount of field of view you want to increase or decrease. Then here's the tween information, which is how long it is, the style and the direction. If you don't know what a tween is, I can't go with it right now. But basically it's just saying it should take this long, it should be played in this style and in this direction. Then it's going to create it with all the properties we just gave it, and it'll play it. Simply just copy paste this in. I'll go over it. So what this is, it's just the regular checks again. Make sure you're not running, you're not blocking, you're not swinging, not doing any of that. And if you're not, it'll say you're running now. It'll play an animation, give you the speed boost, and make your camera tween up. Which I'm going to decrease that a little bit. Well, increase it, my bad. Just so you get a more noticeable difference. And now it's going to stop the animation if you're doing the stop function. And if you're running, because sometimes you might not be running, permanent glitches, make sure when you're running the fall, stop the animation again. Make sure you go back to the original field of view. Turn your walk speed back. Then a little cooldown here, which is how you just do cooldown, just a quick toggle. And again, make sure that works real quick. Oops, I put the keybind wrong. If you wanted to add a spear to this, pretty much all you would do is you would just go in here, you'd modify these values. You know, on your own, you would have to put a spear model on the character. I can't show that today, we're already running out of time. But yeah, it'd be very simple to add weapons at this. the wrong variables there. Now it'll work. You can see we can sprint. You can see the little field of view increase and decrease. Then if we punch, it's going to stop the run. So now we're going to go on the server now. We'll add the block after we get to the server part. Actually, no, I forgot one thing, hit detection. Alright, let me paste the hit detection function in here, I'll go over it. So we gotta add this utility module, we'll do that in a second. Actually, let's do that now so I can explain it fully. I'll copy and paste in the utility module just for time's sake. And go over it real quick. Create tween, I'm not gonna use this today. Going to explain it. The breeze, this is a custom debris function. That's because I like more control over my games. Basically what the breeze does is you give it something and then a time, then after that time, that thing will be destroyed. Find value in table, that's exactly what it is, just finding the value inside of a table. So we can go over this more thoroughly. Oh, I gotta require it too. Mesh cutting, you can like cut off limbs, I guess you could say, but actually like slicing a limb in half would not be possible right now. It'd be very hard. But they're adding a new thing soon. I hope that it will let you be able to do that. Let me see here. Alright, now I can go with some more depth. So, if you're swinging and your hit's enabled and your character's there, it's going to start. So now it's going to look for a hit character using this function. So, part hit detect, which is right here. So what it's doing is it's going to go through, it's going to get parts in part, which is a function. It's exactly what it says. It's going to get all the parts inside of a part, which we're going to give it our hit detection part that we made earlier, and give it these parameters, which means this is all of our characters that we want to hit, which is all these players. Anything in this folder, I'll show real quick. Anything in here will be hit, or can be hit. So now we're going to find, look for a target. If the target's there, and it's not our character, and it has a humanoid root part and all that, then that's a real character. So we'll return that. If we have that, then we're going to go through the characters, find value in table, make sure it's there. And we're going to remove our character from it. And now we're going to array cast. Why we're doing this is because we're checking for parts. So you can't hit through a wall is basically what this is. It's going to fire array. If it hits a wall, it'll stop. If it doesn't hit anything, and we can actually hit the character, then we're like, oh yeah, we're in the open. If a clear line of sight, we can hit them. So now we're checking if it's a back hit, which basically just means you're hitting them from the back, so the block will be able to be stopped, since they can't block you from the back, they block from the front. Now we need to add in our remote we're going to be using, which is, I'll show that path real quick. Remotes. I'm using this combat remote today. And we'll put our remote right here. And then what a remote is basically is you're telling the server to do something. So we're telling the server we hit this character. Then we're gonna give them the character. We're gonna say what swing we're on, what heavy swing we're on, and if it's a heavy hit or not, and if we hit him from the back. And then I'll say the hit's over. We hit somebody, don't hit anybody else. So now we can start our server core and everything else. Why we're starting with the server cores, because modules can't technically start themselves. So we gotta have a core script that activates all of our modules, like we did down here with the client. We're doing with the server. And the server is like the entire game, the absolute power over everybody. Now we're just gonna get the same code from here. And then basically, like I said before, it's just starting everything, making sure it's all good. So now we can start our combat module on the server. Oh, the wrong thing again. Let's call it combat for now. Change this to combat. Now we can get started. For time's sake, once again, I have to copy and paste in a lot of stuff. We don't have a lot of these modules yet. I'll go over them in a second. I don't think we're gonna need this function. Our emotes for everything. Our parry timing, which is the same. The window for parry. Then how much damage it's gonna do to you if you get parried, and how much stun you're gonna take. Get rid of this. Don't need that. Lance, I've been using Studio for roughly 3 years, probably a little bit more than that now. So now on initialize, which like I said earlier, to initialize it, what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect the remote. So we're gonna start our combat and give it all the information. So now we'll create the thing for that. Put it in a coroutine, which coroutine is basically the same. It won't yield, which yielding means waiting. The reason why we're doing this is if you're ever going to have an NPC, then it'd be yielding for them if they did something. So this, if you had an NPC, you could tell them to start the combat, give them all the information, and they can do the hits perfectly. Now we're going to copy and paste in some values here. So what this is, we're starting up all of our information. If the player's a player, we're going to get their weapon, tell them that's a character, get their default speed, get the equipped weapon here. Any basic scripting tutorials, Lance, I'm not sure. Just YouTube is how I learned. YouTube and just trying stuff out, messing around with stuff. Now this is going to be a big function about copying. It's going to take a lot of explaining probably. So bear with me on this one. Lots of stuff I gotta change real quick. Let me get this all lined up now. Get that out of here. Alright. Looks a bit better. Let me indent this a little bit more. That's good enough for now. Alright. Let's see on time. Got too much more left. Try to go a little bit faster now, so bear with me once again. So what's going to happen here? So if the job is to hit somebody, we're going to set up all of our variables. Then we're going to make sure they're not invulnerable, which in a second, actually we'll do that now. Once again, sake of time, got to do this. Copy paste in our status module. I can't go over this too in depth right now. But basically what this is, in our core here in a second, we're going to set up our characters. We're going to add their values, their stun, their block, their punching, their dodging, all that stuff. In this module, check their stun values, you're going to see if they're stunned, tell you that, check their blocks, tell you that, set their stun, and then update. This is probably the only function I really need to explain in this module. What this is doing is getting their stun value and time check. And the time check is basically saying, has it been longer than what the stun has been? So if the stun was for 0.5 seconds and it's been 0.6 seconds, it's going to say, oh yeah, it's been longer, so time check is true, which then it's going to unstun them, tell them they're not stunned. And let's say this is 0.4. It says, oh, that 0.4 is less than 0.5, so they're still stunned. Keep them stunned. And set block value. So all this stuff is just basic stuff. I can explain later in DMs if you need me to. So now on the case of setting up your character, we'll do that real quick. So let me get all of our services, all of our modules that we're gonna need. We don't need user ID. So basically what this is doing, whenever there's a player added, whenever their character's added, we're going to put them into the folder where we hit people, like I said earlier. Then we're going to add their combat values, so they can be hit, so they can fight. Then whenever they die, you're going to get them out of that folder, because they're dead, they can't fight. So now, we're going to say the hit type's light, but if it's a heavy hit, then obviously it's not light, so we'll say it's heavy now. We'll get the hit player, get all of our basic values that we have from this weapons thing. It's like the config for everything. So we'll get the hit range, the knockbacks, all that. And for today we're just going to say the end weapon is fist because that's all we have right now. We'll do a back check, which I'll put that module in here, go in death mode in a second. We're going to assess the clash, which basically this means we're going to see if it's regular M1, then if it's a double hit, which means if they're M1ing each other at the same time, we're going to put the sound for clashing. If they want it, if they like M1 them, they didn't hit back, just continue on. But if the other person M1 before them and they got hit, we're going to end it here because they don't get the hit. They didn't hit first. So now blocking and timing is saying if they're blocking, then what the timing is when they blocked last. So if they blocked faster than the parry window, that means they parried successfully, and we're gonna parry. So if they're blocking, if they parried you, I'll get this out of here. So if they parried you, then it's gonna play the parry sound. You're gonna take damage. You're gonna get stunned. You're gonna get unstunned later. It's gonna play a stun animation on you. If they are blocking and you're heavy hitting, then it's gonna guard break them, which is gonna fire the effects. It's gonna play a sound. It's gonna set the block to fall, so they'll take damage, they'll get stunned, and then we're gonna tell them to stop blocking the client. And if they're blocking and it's not a heavy hit, we're just gonna play the block sound. And if you win the fight, if you win the little battle, they'll take some chip damage. If they're not blocking, it's a heavy hit. Play the sound. We're gonna play a particle. You're gonna set the block to false, just to be sure. Stun them, knock them back, let them take damage and ragdoll them. Then if there's a regular normal punch, you're not blocking, nothing crazy. Particle, sound, set block false, take damage, get stunned, get knocked back, and play an animation. So now we're going to go over the utility module that is doing all of this, that's doing all the taking damage and the stuns and all that. So with the wait until that we had on client, it's just, like I said earlier, just making sure there's nothing weird with the stuns going on. Load animation, stop animation, this basic stuff. We don't use those. We won't be using those today, really. Double hit check. This is what I was saying earlier about the clashes and all that. It's making sure they're hitting at the same time, or if they're not hitting at the same time. The back check, if you're hitting their back or not. And this is the knockback. So we're gonna put our mover utility module in here, which all it does is creates a body velocity or a body gyro, or just really whatever you need. So it's just same thing as doing it in a script, but we're just doing it here. Creating it, setting the properties, making sure it's getting delayed after the amount of time you set it for. So we're making sure the characters are there, making sure they're not invulnerable, or they're not, if they don't have hyper armor. Hyper armor in pretty much all fighting games means you can't get knocked back. So we're making sure they can get knocked back is the knockback function. And if there's any offset, give an offset. If there's a shockwave, they'll be bounced away from the direction. If there's none of that, they'll simply just be knocked back with the body velocity in the direction with the power for the amount of time. Take damage, really simple. Make sure the characters are there, making sure the humanoid's there, making sure they're not invulnerable, making sure they're not dead, and then they're just going to take damage. This is a basic roadblock function. An unstun check. After you stun them, we play this, and then just waiting a little bit longer than the stun, then going through that stun function I was talking about earlier, making sure they can be unstunned. So that pretty much covers all of our basic stuff for our hit. Now we're going to add swings real quick. Add swing and block real quick. So now, if the client is telling the server from the block, they want to make sure they're not stunned. They're going to make sure they're at, or they're not above regular speed or anything. And we'll set their block value. The false if they are above the regular speed. And then if we're all good, everything looks right, we'll set their block value to whatever it needs to be, true or false. Then swing, this plays a swing sound, pretty self-explanatory. Update the punch value too. We're not using the punch value for anything, but it's just nice later on if you want to detect when somebody's punching or not. So now basically we can just go back on client and we can start adding the remote fires. Let's go back to our client real quick. We already have it. We already have the remote for firing the server that tells something it's hit. But we don't have it for anything else. So we're gonna add that real quick. All right. So now this is basically just telling the server we're swinging here. Hits enabled. We're going. Play the sound. And over here, same thing. It's enabled. Let's play the swinging sound so everybody can hear it. Now all those fire back the clients you saw earlier, like I'll pull one up real quick. Let's see here. If hit player, then we're gonna tell them to stop their block. So we gotta add that now. So we'll go back to our player controller, and we're gonna get on the remote, fire back the client. I think we're gonna get the dashes today, sadly, but if they're stunned, we say stun's true, can't walk, or if the stun's over, say not stunned anymore, go back to default speeds. And blocking, if they're blocking, or if you're blocking, just stop the block, make sure everything's good. Now we can add our block functions. So here, just looking at our key binds, making sure it's right. Start the block if it is. Stop the block if we on the input end. We make sure that it's in our table. It is. Have it binding to F currently. So let's see here. Let's copy paste those in for time's sake, and I'll explain. So here, once again, checking swinging, rolling, blocking, making sure none of that's happening so we can do our block. If none of that's happening, we're going to stop run if we're running. Then we're going to put it on cooldown, say we're blocking, tell server that we're blocking, play the animation, slow us down a little bit, then on stop everything, get us back to normal speed, tell server that we're not blocking anymore, and go on cooldown so you can't spam it. Time, I think I'm going to go over a few more things and probably end it. It was supposed to end like 5 minutes ago, but I'll go a little bit over just so I can fully explain everything. Now here we just got to add make sure our dummies here, we have here, we're going to make these guys work real quick. So go in our regular core script. You can put this anywhere if you really want to, but we're putting it here just so it's all in one place. I want to load animation because this is the block dummy, so we're going to let it load the animation. The same function that we talked about earlier in client. So that's our 3 dummies that need stuff set up. We have that. Now we're going to quickly add in Ragdoll. So we have a folder right here. We'll put it in. It has Ragdoll. Go over this really quick. So the best way to put this is when they're ragdolled, they can't be hit. Then if it's a player, we're gonna tell the player, hey, you're ragdolled, do some stuff. If it's not a player, we're gonna say, hey, you can't rotate, you can't get up, you can't jump, you can't do any of this. Then this is all the ragdoll stuff. I don't think I have time to completely go over what it is, but it's just making the joints and the ball sockets so it can smoothly go. And then right here is the hitboxes. So whenever this happens, your limbs are completely not collidable. So we gotta add some collision to that. So that's what these are. This is being a collision so you don't fall through the ground. Then your neck is gone, so you can't have a neck. And then can collide false. And then making sure your platform standing, which means platform standing is just like kind of locking you in a place, sort of. Then when you get up, it's making sure your velocity is nothing so you don't fly around, turning you the hittable again, and getting rid of all those sockets that made you into a ragdoll. So now we're going to go back down here where we were earlier, just the regular thing that started all of our client. I'm going to put the ragdoll here. You could put this on the player controller if you wanted to, but we're just putting this here because I feel like, in my opinion, this is where it should be. And our remote here. So when the server says, hey, you're ragdolled, it's going to come here. Same thing as server, can't rotate. It's going to disable the combat, can't get up, can't jump. Or if you're not ragdolled, it'll say, hey, get up now. I'll load into the game and see if we missed anything. See if it works. Oh, we did miss something. Let's see, what did we miss? Thread. Let me get rid of that real quick. Oh, what else is wrong? Thread. Get rid of that again. If you're wondering what thread is, it's basically just a weight module. I'm not using it just because it's hard to explain, and it's really no different than just doing task.weight. If you're wondering what task.weight is and what weight is and what's the difference, there's no real difference between task.weight. It's just slightly improved, I guess you could say. You won't really ever notice it though. But yeah, anytime you use weight, I recommend task.weight. You don't have to, you can just wait, but this is more the standard that's being pushed right now, I'd say. Oh, thread again. Threads everywhere. Get rid of all these threads. Oh, that's reminded me. Forgot effects, I think. So we're just gonna copy paste this in. This thing is the same thing as the other one. It's just loading all the scripts under it. And this is our effects module. There's a lot of effects that we're not going to be using today, or even in the key that I showed earlier. It's not in here, but I thought I would just include these because I feel like some people like to learn off of them. But I will go in depth on what we're going to be using. So particle, what it's going to do is it's going to take the particle that we want to play, clone it, parent it, play it. The reason why we do this on client is because you don't want the server to waste the resources of doing all this. Because the server can't see anything. It doesn't have eyes. Nobody's going to see it. So you can just tell all the clients to render it themselves and save resources. And the effects will just look smoother in general if they're played on the client. I'll also include thread real quick because it's going to take way too long to remove the threads from this. Once again, not that you should, don't worry about thread. Oh, now you can hear the sounds. Sounds are working. Our heavy is working. Oh, something's wrong there. Let's see what's wrong there. Oh, my bad. I forgot something very important. So let me come down here, and what we're going to be doing now is we're going to bind stuff with the render step. Which, binding the render step is basically just saying every frame something's going to happen. Run these at every single frame. Which I have to add a new function called loop checks. Which is simply just going to be this. That's all we need. So this is basically just saying you can't run in place. If you're not going anywhere when you're running, then stop the run. And we're going to bind our hit detection, the render step, so every single frame, it's making sure you're not swinging. Or if you are swinging, it's going to check for hit detection, which is because you're really smooth, nice combat. Oh, let's see here. No value. Let's fix that real quick. 184. Oh, 42. Attempt to call it nil value. Let's see what's wrong here. Oh, 94. Oh, we forgot this in the weapons module, I think. So what this is just saying is, it's just getting the sound for what the clashes is. Making sure who won, who lost, all of that. Oh, there we go, look. We got run. We have our heavy and light punches. Go chest block break. Oh, the effects there's having a problem. We'll fix that in a second. You can hear the clash sounds. And then the parry's working as well. Let's fix effects real quick, then we'll be done for today. We'll create tween. Let me re-add that real quick. Let's see here. And why we have this create tween function is just I like more control over stuff in my games, like I said earlier. You don't have to do that. You can just do what we did earlier for the field of view, which is a regular tween. Now it has that little red flash thing. If you guard break. And his guard's back up. And if you go behind him, his guard is completely stopped since you can't block from behind, like I said earlier. Oops. Yeah, that's about it. So we'll do a little bit of question and answer now since went a little over time. Sadly couldn't add rolling. Just didn't have enough time. But besides that, I think I covered everything. If there's something you want me to go over real quick, just let me know. Oh, let me fix this real quick. Alright. So yeah, if you have any questions, just add me in chat now and we'll go over it. What's a module? So, like I said earlier, a local script is the client, and a server script is a server, and a module script is like in between. It can be either technically. So a module script is a script that can be accessed by others. So what you're seeing here, let me go in here. Let's see, where's so all of this weapon info, it's a module. So we're getting all the information for it. So we're storing all of these values because the client here it needs the values for it to work. The server, if you come here, it also wants the values. So if we had to manually add that table of values to both scripts, it just look ugly, be unorganized. So we're just sharing the values between everything, and it works with functions too. If you want to share functions between scripts, use a module script. Yeah, this will be open sourcing on YouTube in like 20 minutes probably after this ends. I just gotta upload everything. And if you need help, just DM me on Discord. I'll put my Discord tag somewhere in like the YouTube description maybe. First on Project Baki 2. That was when like I had literally no idea what I was doing. I think it took 5 months-ish, 5, 6, and I had the help of like a really good coder, Sean, to help me. It's really a learning experience. For everybody wanting to learn how to code, my advice is just go on YouTube, find something you like to do, look up scripting tutorial for it, learn it, do it, modify it, figure out how it works. If you can, try to get someone like answer your questions, like have someone to rely on to be like, hey, how do I do this? I can be that guy for you. If you ever have scripting questions, just DM me on Discord. I'm usually free to help. I should enable shift lock. Yeah, enable shift lock in. I was gonna add a custom shift lock system, but I didn't know it was gonna take so long. Any other questions? I'll give another couple minutes for people to send in questions and end it after that, I guess. Will there be a part 2? There's going to be a form sent out at the end of this event. It might be sent out right now. And just put on there, say, fill out all the questions honestly. And if you want to see a part 2, it should like say like other feedback and be like, hey, I want a part 2. And just put it in that feedback. Or on Discord, just send me a DM like, hey, give me a part 2. And if everybody wants a part 2, I'll do like another one of these where we add skills to this. Where we can use like actual combos, add a guard break skill, add a combo like a rush barrage skill, add a range skill, or just add anything. But yeah, just give feedback in the forum or on Discord. I'm open to suggestions. I'm always trying to improve, you know. But yeah. I'll work on this, get this uploaded to YouTube, get this open sourced, get my Discord tag out there so you can guys get some help. But yeah, thanks for coming to my event. There should be a form in your email soon if you're RSVP'd. Fill that out as best you can. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. This is my first event.